So the point of this video is not to sell you something. The point of this video is just to tell you what I regard as my essential knitting items, and really to make the point that you don't need as much as you think you do, and for me, certainly not as much as I've bought. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you think your knitting essentials are. Welcome back to my knitting channel. My name is Nadine and you can find me at yourknittingbestie on Instagram, Ravelry, and here on YouTube. On this channel I chat about being a knitter in a hot climate, as I'm located here in Brisbane, Australia. But we're in the cooler months, so I'm still getting some fantastic use out of my knitted wardrobe. So this is my Rebel cardigan, which I love to death. And I knew that it would kind of show signs of being worn to death because it is, 50% alpaca, 50% wool. So the alpaca is a bit soft, and I knew that it would show wear a little bit. So for example, here on the cuff, oh, if you can see that, it's starting to peel along there. But all in all, for the amount of love that it's been given, it's holding up fairly well, which is probably the wool coming through with a bit of sturdiness. Anyway, onwards to the topic. So today I'm going through what I have sitting next to me whenever I knit. So I tend to have just the very high use items next to me on the couch, which is where I do most of my knitting. And I've only pulled the stuff that I touch almost every session. And I might do another video on maybe my non-essentials or nice to haves and the stuff that I just don't use at all and I probably shouldn't have bought in the first place. And yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you touch every time you pick up your knitting. So I'll just dive right into it then. And yes, as I mentioned, the point of this video isn't to sell you anything because frankly I haven't done the admin that would be necessary to have affiliate links or anything like that. This is just a video that I thought would be of interest. If I ever do get around to doing the admin, I'll make it very clear down below, but I don't expect that'll happen for a while. Anywho, so this is my first recommendation to early knitters or people picking up knitting. That is a bit of an investment, but so worth it in my mind. And that is one set of interchangeable needles in the sizes that you think you'll use most frequently. So they are a little bit expensive. So for me, I don't think I ended up buying a set of interchangeable needles until I was maybe five years plus into my knitting journey. And at that point, I had accumulated a literal box of loose needles, and I would never find the ones that I needed because at that point I didn't have one of those needle measuring tools. So I would just go out, and every time I started a new project, I'd be like, gosh, do I have a set of 5.5 or 4.5 millimeter needles? And I'd buy another one. It was nuts. So I did a good amount of research because I bought these, gosh, when I was in uni maybe. Yeah, I think so, maybe around there, I'm not sure. But anyway, I really did not have a lot of disposable income. So it was a big purchase. And I was going between the addi needles, and I really liked the addi needles because I think Spotlight might have sold a couple, like not an interchangeable set, but a couple addi needles that I had used, and I was like, whoa. And I'd seen them described as the Rolls Royce of knitting needles, and I was like, ooh, that marketing worked so well on me. So I was going between the addi and the chiagu. I can't say that. You know the ones I'm talking about. I was going between those two, and I ended up with the addi click system for the click system because some needles you have to use the key to tighten, whereas the addi ones you just kind of pop and lock, and they work perfectly. Perhaps I'll do a review at some point because I have one set of the Chiagu needles now, so I could do a bit of a comparison. But anyway, the set I ended up getting was this one here, the Addi Clicks, as I mentioned, and they, whoops, looks like this on the inside. I really liked the case. I thought it was really nice. They have done remarkably well. They've been used so much. So for example, what size is this one? 3.75, and it's kind of starting to go dull on the end where my hands hold the needles. But remarkably, you can still see the markings on it. So that was the one thing I was worried about. So this one goes from what did I just say? Goldfish memory. 3.75 millimeters up to 8 millimeters. I don't think I've ever used the 8 millimeter ones that I can remember. Anyway, I use between the 3.75 up to around 5.5 pretty regularly. They come with the different cables. I'm not sure if I have all of them back here, but they're this blue color, and that's the kind of lock system. So yeah, they work very well, although I have to say the Chiagu needle, what do you call them? The wires, they are just remarkable. There is no memory to them at all, meaning they just are so fluid. They don't tend to have any pushback, which these ones can have a little bit. So I would recommend a interchangeable needle set for any serious beginner knitter because you'll probably save yourself a good amount of money in the long run. So that's my first one, and I think that's a given. I think a lot of knitters would probably recommend an interchangeable knitting needle set to serious beginners. So I think that's a good one. So then moving on to the kind of little dish that I have sitting on the coffee table next to the couch, which looks a bit chaotic because it is a bit chaotic, but I thought if I tidied it, it would be kind of disingenuous. So this is what I work with. This is my main knitting tray, and I love the plate that it's on. You can kind of see the design in the back here, and on the bottom it says, "Be my maid of honor," and it's what my sister gave me to ask me to be her maid of honor. And she got the plate from a thrift shop, and she gave all of her bridesmaids ones that she thought represented their personalities. And I think she did a great job. Anyway, so that's why it has a bit of meaning to me and why I like using it. So let's kind of start at the top. I'm just going to pick out my earrings because it seems that when I sit down to knit, I take off my earrings after a long day. It's kind of TMI, but it's kind of like taking off your bra at the end of a big day. I'm like, okay, now I can rest. I'm at home. So 3 pairs of earrings. Put them off to the side and put them back where they belong after this. So my first one is, of course, a little measuring tape. This one is from Skein Sisters because I love their store and I do try and buy from there where I can. And it works perfectly well. So it's just got centimeters on one side, inches on the other. Nice kind of mechanism. And it's just always there when I need it. It's nice and small. So that's another given. I think that's right up there in terms of essentials. A little pair of scissors. The more whimsical, the better in my mind. This one I got from Kmart. I think around $6 or so. So not going to break the bank, but quite cute. And I like using them more than picking up kind of kitchen shears or whatever for cutting my yarn. And this one is an absolute must-have. So some sort of darning needle. And I have a bunch of these golden ones, which my stepmother put me onto. And she said that these were the best ones to use. She's also a knitter. And I was like, ooh. Because before that, I was using kind of these blue plastic ones. And once you change to these metal ones, you'll never go back. Because they just feel so luxurious and they last and they just work very well. So you use these, of course, to weave in your ends. So they are definitely high on my list. And I'll try my best to find links to put down below just so that you can see the product that I'm talking about. So the other thing that I have that I use pretty much every time I pick up a medium to higher complexity project, row counters. So I know there's a bunch of different ones on the market that you can get, and you can even use an app, I think. Or when I occasionally misplace these, which happens somewhat frequently, I have been known just to use the Notes app on my phone and just put a tally system for when I finish a row or, whatever marker I need to keep track of. So I love these because you just pop them on your finger, like so. You can press the middle button to turn them on, and then you can press this little one to reset them. I said to reset them. There you go. And then you just hit the one in the middle when you finish a row. Fabulous. And yeah, these ones I got for free from Hobby using their point system. I think the first one was maybe sent with my first order for free. And that was a smart move by them because I got well and truly hooked. So I gave one of these away to one of my friends, but I still have two, which is good because I think at the most I'll have two medium to higher complexity projects going at once. So two seems to do me fine. And then we've got one more stray earring. Oh yeah, these are just kind of nice to haves. So occasionally I'll have some stoppers that go on the end of your knitting needles. These ones look like little macarons. I think they're super cute. I love little novelty needle stoppers and stitch markers, of course, which we will come to in a second. So yeah, I've got two of these, which are my current favourites that my dad and my stepmother gave me as a present. So quite like them. And then so the rest of this dish is literally just stitch markers. And I adore stitch markers. I just love them. And they are also something that I lose all the time. They're throughout my handbags. There's probably about 50 of them in my couch. I've definitely vacuumed up a couple accidentally. I guarantee that's happened. But so I have a mix. I've got some of the clickable ones that you can pop on as like a placeholder if you wanted to, or that you could use as an actual stitch marker on your needles. I've got some decorative ones. I don't tend to buy too many of the decorative stitch markers because I like to save my yarn budget for yarn. Here's another one of the nice ones that I have, which I think I just bought at my local yarn store. They occasionally had some different ones at the front near the cash register. And then a whole bunch of these, like the green, yellow type ones. They were ones I just got from Bendigo Woolen Mills, and they were super cheap. They were like $3 per pack or something like that. So I got a couple of them and emptied them. These blue ones, also pink ones. I can't remember what brand they are. And then I have this habit of whenever I get new clothes, occasionally the tag, like the store's tag, will be attached to the garment with one of, gosh, they're so small it's hard to show you, one of these sort of pins. So I take them and use them as well because I actually bought as a pair of stitch markers this pack of pink ones that are like that. And the ones that come with your clothes are obviously identical, so I'm collecting them whenever they come up. And I actually found a store that uses these beautiful rose gold ones. So I'm loving that. Because stitch markers can be quite expensive actually, I find. So yeah, I've got a little handful of them. That was the original purpose of this dish, was to hold stitch markers. And then all of the stuff that I use all the time ended up piling on top. So those are the actual knitting related items that sit in this dish. But I also have in my little knitting setup I have 2 comfort items, so a hand cream and a lip balm, because I just like to feel nice and comfortable when I'm knitting. So if I've got dry lips, that'll just bug me. So I've got that lip balm there. And a really nice hand cream. This one smells like pineapple. It's actually really nice. So it's just something I use that kind of puts me in a relaxed mind frame. Yes, mind frame. And also can help when your hands are a little bit rough, because there's nothing worse than that feeling when your yarn is catching on a bit of roughness on your skin. So I like to have them. And on the topic of roughness, the other thing I keep is a nail file, because if my yarn is getting caught in like little rough bits of my nails, that'll drive me absolutely nuts. Sensory nightmare. And then the final thing that I have next to me is just a jar. And this is for my scraps and random bits of rubbish that I don't want to get up and immediately put in the bin. So this one has Nadine and Michael on it because it was delivered to us by Michael's work as a present with some flowers. This was the vase when we got engaged. And I just thought it was too pretty to throw out. So now it's my scraps jar, and you can see in it some of the baby blanket that I was making. I think this was the bit that I abandoned because it was way too big. Yeah, gosh, look how big this was. I did the math on this. I thought this was supposed to be like this big. No, sorry, probably about that big. This big. I didn't think my math was that bad. Anyway, so that's the only scrap that's in there at the moment. But I also use that to keep the bigger items. So my nail file sits in there, hand cream sits in there, and occasionally things like cable needles will sit in there as well. So that's it. That's all of my high use items. Actually, you know what? There's one other high use item, which is something to keep your pattern on. So for me, I use my iPad, and I use it 90% of the time just for a pattern. So it's probably not the most cost-effective solution for having a pattern near you, but I like to have it on a screen, and I keep it on the arm of the couch so I can kind of glance over when I need to, when I'm watching TV or something like that. So you probably don't need an iPad for your knitting, but I would recommend something that you could use to reference your pattern every now and again. So I've seen people use those kind of holders, like a paper holder, and you can put a sheet of paper in there and then you can mark it up as you go. I could see that being very satisfying. And then you would have kind of your notes for you the next time you do that pattern again. So that would be very nifty. I think you could also, I very much just use my phone sometimes. If it's a not too complicated pattern, then I can get through most of it by memory and then just check it every now and again, and your phone is perfectly fine for that. Or of course a laptop, if you have one around. But yeah, I'd love to know how you keep your pattern clear while you're going. Probably won't put the earrings back in. But yeah, so that sounded like a lot, didn't it? But this is it. This is all you need. This is all I ever need for 90% of my knitting, probably. And of course I have yarn stashed everywhere in my house. But you only need a bowl at a time. So my knitting area isn't actually too cluttered. I keep my needle sets and things like that in a cupboard. And this is all I have out. So yeah, it's really not too much. And I think to the extent you feel you need to spend lots and lots of money and have all the latest gadgets, you certainly don't need to. It is very fun. It's almost a different hobby, isn't it? Buying stuff for your knitting as opposed to actually knitting. So yeah, they're my essentials. I'd be so curious to hear what you think your essentials are, and if there's anything from my pile that you might use in the future or that you agree is a kind of essential item. And I'm very interested actually to go through my huge stash of just knitting paraphernalia and pick out the things that I really don't use, the things that are really nice to haves, but probably don't spend your money on them unless you really feel the need to, unless it brings you joy. So yeah, that's all from me today. I think just a little straightforward, simple episode. And I am making some good progress on my projects. So I'm excited to update you on how they're going. I hope you're going well. I hope you've had a good couple of weeks. We've certainly had a busy period, which I think will continue for about a month. I've got some work travel coming up. We've got that bathroom reno happening at the end of the month, which is very exciting, but we're going to have to move out for that. And yeah, gosh, it's just all happening this year. But that makes for interesting times. Certainly, I'm kept well out of trouble. So I hope that you are also kept well out of trouble, but have a lot to keep you engaged and interested, and of course, some good projects on the go. If you've liked the video, it would be wonderful if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, it would be tremendous if you would consider subscribing so that you can see the next video when it comes out. So thanks guys, I appreciate you watching and I will see you in the next video.